Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into another episode of OPES. If you're new here, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of our awesome content. And if you want to support the channel even more, be sure to check out our Patreon for extra episodes and exclusive content. Links in the description. Thanks for listening, and let's jump in, baby. Since the beginning of time, humans have gathered around the fire to share stories. Stories were our first form of magic, a way to make sense of the dark, to pass down what we feared, what we hoped, and what we couldn't explain. Around these flames, legends were born, monsters were named, and shadows grew teeth. But the thing about stories is that some of them never truly stay buried. They crawl out of the firelight, into dreams, into books, and the topic of today's episode, into our screens. From Creepshow to Trick or Treat, these collections of short nightmares keep the ancient ritual alive, one tale at a time. And today, we're talking all about which ones to watch, which ones to stay away from, and which ones that will haunt you into the next Halloween season. So, pull your chair a little closer to the flames, for tonight we're exploring the terrifying tradition of horror anthologies and why we just can't stop telling scary stories.
You summoned me. I came.
You know what time it is. Welcome back. It's 2025, and now you're here with the greatest. That's right. Ordinary people, extraordinary stories. With your host Trishy and Troy. Ordinary people, extraordinary stories. Welcome to the show. Now your mind gets to blowing. Trishy got the gas, Shrunky got the flowing. Take you back to school for the fact you wasn't knowing. This ain't your normal pod, just a simple act of God, just a congregation of brilliance in a world of facades. Interviews with peoples of all different walks. Comedy, intelligence is using every talk. Ordinary people, extraordinary stories. Ordinary people, extraordinary stories.
So, before we go any further, what exactly is a horror anthology? Think of it as a collection of short stories, often connected by a loose, overarching narrative. You've seen it before, The Twilight Zone, or more recently, Black Mirror. The beauty of anthology stories is in their accessibility. You don't have to watch anything in order. You can just jump right in. There's no long setup, no deep backstory. They just drop you straight into the nightmare. That's also where things can go wrong. As I was watching through a bunch of these films, some just didn't quite land. A few start strong, but never really build up the tension, while others hit the ground running and keep tightening the screws all the way to the end. And there are some that I feel like, if they just had a bit more time, they could have truly knocked it out of the park. Before we dive into the list though, I want to make something clear. We're not just talking about good or bad here. I created a few different tiers for these films because after watching a ton of horror anthologies, I realized about a third of them were ones most of us have already seen. So, for this episode, I went digging, way off the beaten path. Some of these movies completely surprised me. Others, well, let's just say I'd rather watch paint dry. But I did my best to put together a variety, different decades, styles, and scares. Alright, enough setup, you're here for recommendations, and I got some chilly ones for you. Let's start at the top of the list. So, as you can clearly see in the sections we have, the different types of brackets, if you will, not just good, not just bad, some have their own dedicated area. And we're going to start, of course, with VHS. If you don't know VHS, just to very quickly summarize what it is, VHS is the brand new kid on the block. So for all the veterans, the people who've seen Creepshow, Twilight Zone, Black Mirror, Trick or Treat, VHS, from what I understand, is exclusively, I think it was on Netflix before, but I believe every single one is currently on Amazon Prime. It's a collection of short horror stories. Sometimes there's a loose, overarching narrative, combining them all, or at least one that's going to show a repeat segment. But I mean, they can vary anywhere between zombies at a funeral to monsters in the sewers to doomsday cult with vampires. I mean, wide variety. And I don't want to share too much, but like I mentioned, they have their own separate category. First one's solid. Second one really shines right out of the park. You'll clearly see I have it in the first. But then I also put down VHS 99 as well as VHS 94. On the 94 one, there's a particular one I mentioned. It was about Doomsday Cult. That one was shot so creepily, so engaging. It's one thing while we talk about these kind of movie recommendations is some of them get the tone just right. They don't mess around. They drop you right in the situation. You're locked in. You're like, I want more. I need more. And they just keep going and going until it's over. And if you have time, if you want something, again, that's why it's its own category. Watch any of the VHSs. They're solid. There's like 7 or 8 of them. That's why they get their own list. So, again, not gonna explain anymore. They're there. Check them out. Didn't watch a bunch of them. Yeah. Okay. Now, for the next obvious one. Stuff you've probably seen or should see. Now, I made this entire video list because these 3 movies I'm going to talk about, I've seen multiple times. We'll talk about it right away. Trick or Treat. Okay, the one right at the top. First one. If you do not have a movie to watch during Halloween, let it be Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is, again, an anthology. It's safe to assume all of these are anthologies. But, like, it's all about a night on Halloween with varying different characters and degrees that kind of like Pulp Fiction all loop together right there at the end. Of like, oh, this is all going on at the same time. Very interesting. I love Trick or Treat. It came out back in 2007. It was like a straight to Redbox kind of movie. The guy who made, either he wrote the X-Men movies, the first one, X-Men 1 and X-Men 2, I'm talking about the old 2000s ones, wrote this, and an immediate cult classic. Again, horror nuts know this movie. You probably see my man Sam. He's the guy in the little thumbprint, the little image right there. He's probably seen him a good chunk of times, though. He's a favorite for children costumes or for horror parents making their kids dress up as horror characters. Me and my wife are easily going to make it happen. Eventually we have our little chitlins of our own. But again, it's great. My only issue, I would say, I've seen it too many times. I'm so glad it's getting the recognition and the real spotlight it deserves. Apparently a sequel's in the pipeline. Super pumped for it. But for me, I needed something else. I wanted something new. Again, why we made the list. Let's move on. Tales from the Hood. Again, you haven't seen it. We'll just talk about this one. Tales from the Hood and Creepshow. All solid choices. Creepshow, rewatching it, it's solid, it's good, everyone should see it. For horror fans, it's great because it's got a lot of just cameos. Stephen King is in probably one of my favorite little segments called The Tragedy of Geordie Verrill, I think that's the guy's name, about a hillbilly who finds a meteorite in the middle of his farm and shenanigans happen. Funny little thing, ultimately sad, ultimately really messed up, but it's fun, it's good. It didn't bang for me or my wonderful editor as much as I thought it would. And again, you gotta recognize the OGs. You gotta recognize, hey, if we didn't have Creepshow, we wouldn't have had Trick or Treat. And technically, if we didn't have Tales from the Crypt comics, we wouldn't have Creepshow, etc., etc. But it's good. Check it out. I'll eventually cover the sequel in this video. Let's move on to Tales from the Hood. I'm a sucker for it. It's no secret. I love and appreciate black culture. This is a movie I saw in the middle of the day. I was just like, oh, I wonder what this is about. And it just blew my mind. It covers... You don't necessarily have to be black to enjoy it. It covers just some horror tropes of the black community and gives a nice little spooky twist to it. It's like, cool. It's not just about an abusive, shitty stepdad or boyfriend. He's a monster now. It's not just about police brutality. It's about a vengeful spirit rising from beyond the grave. And one of my favorite stories is one involving puppets. Can't say anything more than that. Just want you to enjoy it. Go into it dry. It's a lot of fun. There are sequels. I'll be guilty. I haven't seen them. I've heard they're just kind of alright. Maybe we might do a sequel episode. Maybe we might do a Patreon talk about watching those though. But I would say, again, for just this tier, if you've seen all the VHSs, if you want to watch some classics, again, can't go wrong with Trick or Treat, Tales from the Hood, or Creepshow. Probably watch Trick or Treat on Halloween. Great choice. So, let's talk about the movies I actually saw for this video. Now, I watched a bunch, and we're going to start strong with I would say one of my favorites. Definitely at least one of the top 3 that I got a chance to watch these past couple of weeks. Necronomicon from 1993. So, this is an anthology, again, like Creepshow, like all those other ones, where it's about my main man. If you love the Lovecraft, if you love the Brian Usna flicks, I'm talking about, of course, Mr. Jeffrey Combs, plays the big racist himself, Mr. H.P. Lovecraft. He goes to a occult bookstore, a secret ancient library, if you will, and as he goes there and finds the Book of the Dead, I believe gets high off some crazy old mummy gases and starts writing some banana stories. Now, this one, I just felt like, again, we're starting off strong. This is most definitely you need to watch this during Halloween kind of movie, just because of how not a lot of people talk about it. If you like practical effects, if you like fish people, if you like just things getting weird, I don't want to say fast, but at just the right pace, you can't go wrong with this movie. I mean, again, it's solid, it's great. Trying to find it online was a real pain. I had to watch it off some sketchy Russian website. I think there's a Blu-ray copy out there, and that's the only downside with this list, is sometimes these movies are going to be really hard to find to watch, but I will tell you, if you can find Necronomicon 1993 starring Jeffrey Combs, it is a real treat. The OPESmeister, the OPESkeeper, if you will, says to check it out. Which will lead us into my number 2 choice, the Mortuary Collection 2019. This one it came out in 19, but I watched it right at the start of the pandemic, so I don't know if this had any effect on it. The Mortuary Collection 2019 is fun. It's definitely the newest one. I think it is, besides the VHS movies, is the newest of the movies I'm going to be talking about on this list. I don't know why it just didn't hit for me as much as the other ones. It is fun. It's newer. We got Clancy Brown, again, Mr. Krabs. Seen Shawshank, he's the douchebag guard. You've seen Pet Sematary 2, he was the abusive dad that turns nice. You know my mans. You know Clancy Brown's. If you're a real one, you know who he is. He's great. And he stars as this wonderful, creepy mortician. And we talk about a bunch of stories of the people who died. And I think the first story is, I will just say, if you're a guy, is probably the craziest thing you will ever see. Can't give any more away than that. Check it out. It's fun. I might have it on again in like the background if I'm like having a Halloween party and I want to have just something spooky themed on, something I'd put on. If you watch most of this list and you're like, okay, let me watch something cool. You can't go wrong with the Mortuary Collection 2019. Which leads into my number 3 choice. Tales from the Crypt, 1972. This movie was interesting. Again, as I will discuss, I saw a good chunk of these are old flicks. These are gonna be older ones, so all the Zoomers listening, God bless you, but it's a bit slower paced. The Crypt Keeper is not the zany, pun-spewing corpse that we get in the HBO series from the 90s. No. This is just a weird old guy in a cave, straight saying, "I have something to show you." And then proceeds to stare at people for 20 minutes and shows them how they die. And I will tell you, one kind of pattern theme I've noticed in anthologies is even like a Jesus parable, is there's a reason, there's a lesson behind these stories. Pretty much every single person in this film, in the film Tales from the Crypt 1972, is a bad person. So he's showing these terrible people how they're ultimately going to meet their demise. And it has charm to it. I will say I'm going to put this as a must-watch this for Halloween. Again, I'm particularly fond of Necronomicon 1993, but you will be able to find Tales from the Crypt a lot easier than Necro. Say check it out. It has Peter Cushing, I believe that's the gentleman's name. He plays a lovable tramp that just... his story, it will tug your heartstrings. Ultimately, it gets ended in just the right, justified karmic way. But again, I won't spill too much of what the OPESkeeper, I think we're going to keep saying that. OPESkeeper says, check it out, must watch this for Halloween. Which leads us to our number 4 choice, Tales from the Darkside. This is... And as we kind of go through the other movies, so this one's going to go right in the middle. And it's going to stay in the middle. Tales from the Darkside is great value Creepshow. Creepshow came out in 1982. Tales from the Darkside came out in 1990. This was fun. And it's got a lot of big name actors in it, though. Steve Buscemi's in the first one with the mummy. Again, another great karmic justice little story there. We have our main character, our kind of overarching narrative. I don't know the woman, but the little boy, again, for all you recess heads, TJ Detweiler, and I believe he's done some other voice work too, but yeah, he's the little kid in there. So a little kind of little fun little FYI for you. It's fun. It's great. Again, there's a cat story in there that's just bonkers. And then the third story, which was a little sad, a little sweet, a little silly. My only issue I would say I had with Tales from the Darkside, again, absolutely watch. If you haven't seen it, it's great. It's in the middle for me just because for a movie I'm eventually going to talk about much later, it is pretty much a beat for beat copy of the same story. And one of them came out 25 years earlier. So... not overly thrilled by that, but it's a different paint. It's from a different era. So again, it has its own little kind of, hey, that's this story. But I still say, again, if you're looking for a solid anthology that's not Creepshow, I might even put it up with, it should be on par with You Haven't Seen This, with the Trick or Treats and the Creepshow. It's great. It's solid. Do check it out. For me personally, again, got a little sour taste from it because literally the same day I watched another movie that had the exact same story. And again, I'll get to it though. Again, OPESkeeper says, check it out. Let's move on, shall we? 2. Body bags. The bags with the bodies. It very well could even be put up at a much watch this for Halloween. I will say I only wanted more. It takes place or starts with our own Crypt Keeper. Let's just call him Mr. Deadman or Mortuary Guy. Whatever. Is this perceived really ugly looking mortician that's chugging formaldehyde. But he's got the puns on lockdown. Again, Body Bags 93. I think Tales from the Crypt kind of came out around the same time. Originally, from what I understand of this movie, is that it was going to be a series, and then got to the point where, like, you know what, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Let's make this into just a film instead. Our Crypt Keeper, like I mentioned, our cadaver guy, main dude, real ugly guy, is John Carpenter. Guy made The Thing, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little Chinatown, Halloween. That man, big guy, plays our narrator into each segment, and he's wonderful. Like, he's just chewing on all the dead scenery, and I wanted more and more of that. I'm kind of sad we don't got a series of it, because I would totally watch more of it. I guess the stories aren't kind of all right. The first one's a very by the book of a woman's left alone somewhere and a killer is going after her. Again, very Halloween vibes. It's great. Lindsay McGuire's dad, I think something Carradine. I could look it up though, but we got a lot of movies to talk about, so I'm just gonna keep going. But he plays a mechanic in there. There's a lot of people in this movie though. The dude from American Werewolf in London, the main guy, he's in that first story. Then we have kind of a fun little hair segment in the second one, like hair, like the hair, the stuff on your head. That's kind of a fun little, weird little story. And then, of course, number 3 stars my main man, Mark Hamill, the Joker, Luke Skywalker, as a story about him needing an eye transplant, and horrible things happen afterwards, though. Kind of looking back on it, I may say watch this for Halloween. I might even put that up there, but we're going to get a little crowded, kind of speaking from the future here. So we're going to just leave it right here in fun. Again, OPESkeeper says check it out. It will be a blast. Yeah. Let's move on, shall we? Kawaii-den. Japanese noise right here. This is its own special, like, we're bumping it all the way to avant-garde Kino. 1964, Kawaii-den. Again, you can probably find this from a lot of places. A lot of places you'll be able to watch this. This was a treat. I told my wife, I told my friends this. This was a movie that I watched that I felt like not only was this like a good meal, like a good steak, but it was nutritious. It was good for my soul. It was good for my brain. Visually stunning and very by the book stories. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing super like complicated. For stories about a guy who kind of gets tired of his wife, gets tired of being poor, switches up for a princess in a castle. She's nasty. He can't stand her. He's like, I miss my wife. Goes back. Shenanigans happen. Second story is about a guy witnessing a ghost doing something. Shenanigans happen. And the third story is about a blind man that plays concerts for the dead. Again, I'm really, really just underselling and undercooking this movie. The sets are incredible. There's so many shots where they feel like they could be like screensavers or even just posters or like frame stills that were just like gorgeous stuff. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking about when the samurai, this all takes place in like feudal Japan. So, and that's what's great thing about these anthologies is that technically these things can span across multiple times, multiple eras, and they're still the same thing. Don't be a dick. Love the people you're supposed to love. If you will be a bad person, bad things will happen to you. And don't play for the dead. Very simple stories, but just the scenes and the costumes are insane. Again, I could just think about it. First story, the samurai goes back to his ex-wife, and you see just all these like gorgeous like flowers in this field, and it shows the house, and it is just beautiful. It's the only word I can think about it. Second one is about a woodsman and his apprentice get lost in the snow, find a ghost, but the skyscape is haunting. You see eyes watching them again. It is just beautiful. And there's technically 4 stories. The only thing I'm stupid, but the fourth one's kind of, it just doesn't pop as much as the other ones did. The third one is truly a treat. It's a war story drama and a precautionary tale. about this samurai clan that just gets wiped out in the middle of the ocean, and because of it, I mean, they all die. They supposedly haunt the same ocean for like 700 years, and this temple was built near that ocean to kind of ferry and keep safe of those spirits. There's a blind gentleman by the name of Oichi, who is very well versed in the tale of the samurai clan dying, that he plays his instrument and sings of their sorrow. It's gorgeous. It's such a treat to listen to. And it shows the fight scenes. I mean, granted, we're talking about the 60s, but I mean, these are people on boats fighting, stabbing, killing the shit out of each other. It is great. If I haven't sold enough, again, I haven't told you anything, because when you watch this movie, you're going to be like, holy crap, this is gorgeous and amazing, and why Japanese cinema just be so good? I mean, check it out. Again, it gets its own category for a reason. If technically, I could have just done a video just talking about just how amazing this movie was, but instead, we got much other stuff to watch. It is 3 hours long. I'm going to warn you there. It is, you got to get through it, but I mean, also, it is visually just dessert. Opeskeeper says, Konnichiwa, check it out. Gong sound right here. Let's move on. 3 Extremes. The weird Japanese, Korean, Cantonese redheaded stepchild on this list. I heard about 3 Extremes from one of the stories called Dumplings. I'm going to try not to say any more than that. I was looking up maybe some extreme horror. And when I say extreme, I mean this is stuff you're not watching with grandma. This is not stuff you're watching with any normal, sane-minded people. This is where the topics are difficult, the visuals are rough, and we're talking about true horror and dread of humanity in all facets. One of these stories covers it. It is Dumpling. It's something I may recommend watching. It's 3 short stories from 3 different Asian directors from 3 different countries. There's the Japanese one. I believe it's called The Box. It's a bit more ethereal, a bit more dreamlike. You will either love or hate that segment. It doesn't explain a lot. It kind of like leaves things up to interpretation. It also is kind of gross. Wasn't overly a fan of it though. Definitely one of the stories I say if this had a full movie would, I feel like, really soar. But also, like I mentioned, that the topic is pretty difficult. We're going to go switch over to the Korean flick of Cut, about a story of a Korean director getting abducted by a serial stalker and shenanigans ensues. This is directed from my homeboy Park Chan-wook. If you don't know who that guy is, again, he's made a lot of very famous Korean movies. Talk about Old Boy. If you haven't seen that, that's just a great movie, period. It's part of a trilogy of Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Lady Vengeance. He's also did Thirst. That's going to get watched eventually. We will talk about that. Very interesting. I believe it's a Korean priest gets bit by a vampire and has to struggle with his thirst for blood. Again, great flick. To talk about the Cut section of the 3 Extremes, it was wacky and weird and I loved it. Again, some people are probably going to end up hating it though. It is brutal. I feel like Korean media has its own special niche, at least within American consumers. They're able to show their culture fairly well, but also I find to make really compelling stories. I mean, there's a reason why a good chunk of their movies, I'm not talking about Japanese, not talking about The Ring, not talking about The Grudge. There's one about 2 sisters. Again, I'm sorry, I'm ruining this and I'm rambling. But they have a way of telling stories where it's like, it's engaging, it's captivating, but also representing the culture very well. Squid Games is a great example as far as like just Korean media. And speaking of Squid Games, our homeboy, the director, I believe it's number 2. He's in the 2nd season. He's in it and plays the director. Our boy, Mr. Lee Byung-hoon. I hope I did not butcher his name. Again, he's great. We love him. He was a blast. Difficult movie all over. Let's talk about Dumpling. Dumpling was its own short story that eventually, from what I understand, got its own movie. It's a kind of classic tale, you know, as tale as old as time. Someone's trying to regain their youth, their beauty, you know, trying to stay young forever, and the costs people will do to get that eternal beauty. I will warn you, it's rough. I'm a little desensitized because I watched a lot of movies, but the sounds from Dumpling is absolutely disgusting. I hate it. I probably will never watch this again, but I'm also can say that I'm glad I checked it out, because I can say I'm one of the few people who have watched this and lived to tell the tale and will never watch it again. I will say, if you can find it, Three Extremes, solid flick, a bit rough. That's why it's staying in the middle, and it kind of gets its own little bracket. So, Three Extremes, OPESkeeper says, if you can find it, maybe watch it. Buyer beware. You're in for a scare and vomit bucket. We're going to move on. That leads us into Tales of Halloween, our first stinker, and I think only stinker on the list, though. It's 2015, a fairly new-ish anthology. Man, I couldn't even tell you what this movie was about. Some of the stories were at least mildly interesting. I think a kid going to an old supposed haunted house, then gets into shenanigans with maybe or maybe not the devil. There's a lot going on here. Maybe I could give it another watch, but I mean, if you're really starving for movies, go ahead and watch it. But I mean, guys, I put, I think, 15 or 16 flicks on this list, and I would say watch any of these else before you watch this. I may be biased. Please tell me in the comments how I'm wrong and have no taste and I'm garbage. Please do so, but just for me, Tales of Halloween, maybe it would have been better at the end. I feel bad. This was definitely would have been a movie. I usually try to always watch everything to make up my own opinion, but I couldn't watch it. I skipped this. Again, please tell me I'm wrong, and I might reconsider watching it again. Let's move on, shall we? To Black Sabbath 1963. Black Sabbath 1963. I'm not talking about Iron Man, not talking about The Blizzard of Oz, not talking about the Ronnie J. Dio. I'm talking about the movie Black Sabbath, not the band, silly. This was a classic in all sense of the words. Stars my man, Mr. Boris Karloff, Mr. Frankenstein himself, Imhotep the OG mummy, again, real, recognizes real, is our wonderful narrator and also potential vampire. From this story, again, the best part, at least why I've been enjoying these anthologies, is a lot of this stuff kind of blends together. Again, these aren't stories that are unique. You've heard these stories about the crazy serial stalker calling the woman constantly, the vampire at your door, the grave robber who ultimately meets their comeuppance. I mean, again, these are stories we've heard before, but for a classic sense, for like a, hey, I want to see something that still holds terror. I won't give it away. There was one story, one of these little stories in this film. There's a particularly troubling scene. I won't say trouble, it's just scary. It's spooky. I was like, ew, I don't like this. Go away. And it still held up. It was enjoyable. I liked it. If you're in the mood for something classic, you can't go wrong with Black Sabbath. Again, you'll see, there are things that add, again, just a taste-wise, I'm going to put above it, though. But if you want something solid, check it out on Halloween. It's a great flick. Again, 1963 Black Sabbath. The OPESkeeper says, this is pretty good. Check it out. Let's get into After Midnight. This movie's crazy. This movie felt like I want to talk about like great value and bargain bin. This was a movie where like you would only watch this because it's 3 a.m. on Cinemax, 1989. I only found it because I was going through other anthology lists and someone recommended this and said, you know what, at the time it bombed. it was like one of those things where like nobody really got a chance to see it just because it was just not the right time and it didn't grip people. It's about students who go to a professor's house, a professor of psychology, to talk about the psychology of fear, the psychology of terror. And they each end up telling scary stories to pass the night. And I appreciated it. It felt like something I would watch from Tales from the Darkside or from Tales from the Crypt. And very grounded stories, very stuff that's like, okay, these are like kind of urban tales, like stuff that you would see in the paper of just like, oh, did you hear about that girl who disappeared? Oh, did you hear about that haunted radio station kind of thing? The ending is bananas. And the ending will also share another ending with another movie, which you'll figure out if you watch them both, where it loops it around and it's like, oh, okay, because you'll notice with these films, a lot of them take very similar themes and similar tropes together. And again, it was fun. I might watch it again, might put it on during a Halloween party. It's not something I'm going to actively pursue all the time, but you know what? It was fun. I liked it. After Midnight, 1989, OPESkeeper says, don't go to your professor's house. Oh, it stars Bobby Hill, the voice of Bobby Hill. Pamela, what's her name? I'm sorry, Queen, I'm not giving you the full title. She plays a student. She's a baby in it. I only know it because I've programmed my brain to know all voice actors, and I particularly like King of the Hill, so that's how I knew it was her. So yeah, again, OPESkeeper says, we're moving on. Let's go. Cat's Eyes 1985. Or Cat's Eye, I should say. Cat's Eye 1985. This is a Stephen King anthology. It's from his 1978 story collection, Night Shift, which is just a bunch of short stories he wrote. It, wasn't as big as like It or Shawshank Redemption. It wasn't like a whole book's worth. It was like, hey, just little stories, which is perfect for our anthology series. First one's called Quitters Incorporated, then The Ledge, and then the final story, which was just its own kind of adapted thing. It's just they made it for this film specifically called The General. This one's great. This is something I'm probably want to put in the rotation every year. I want to tell people about it. I want people to check it out. It is about not just a cat, but it centers around a cat who gets involved, maybe not directly, but comes across these three stories. I will say, this is from the 80s. Y'all crazy, like as far as like topics and themes. For all the cat owners, this is going to be a hard movie for you to watch. He doesn't die, occasionally gets hurt. It's not overly graphic, but you're going to be biting your nails a lot. But I will tell you, keep watching. Again, if you enjoy cats, have a cat, know someone with cats, check it out. It stars a very, very young baby Drew Barrymore. I think this might even been before Firestarter. I think that was like her first big movie or something. Maybe it was after. I don't know. She's in it, and she's wonderful, but man, I just can't get enough about this movie. The first story, Quitters Incorporated, the lengths that they're going to prevent a man from smoking, I could only just not even pray. I would never wish upon somebody that's like trying to quit a bad habit to go through this company. It's awful. It's like, imagine the worst people ever be like, hey, we're really going to help you not smoke or do something. And then that happens and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. Why would you come here? Why would you recommend this? That's the first story. Second story, also another nail biter. He got afraid of heights. You might bring a diaper a little bit. It's a little poops panting, kind of scary kind of thing. And the last story, General, is about why animals are so important. I can't say of my animals protecting me from spooky, scary shenanigans, but it is wonderful seeing a kitty cat just being a badass for like 20, 30, 40 minutes. I don't hear people talk about it. When I heard about the last story of Cat's Eye, I was like, I want to watch it, and it did not disappoint. That's why it's getting right behind Necronomicon. I could even say it tied just because these were two flicks I had just such a fun time watching that, yeah, I had to put them here. So, again, OPESkeeper says, pet your kitty, get a doggy, whatever, and check out this movie. It is so freaking phenomenal. Let's move on. Very quickly, I feel bad because I made a list, and to be fair, I could even put the Mortuary Collection into this one good story category. Again, there's that one gross one I mentioned where that one was really crazy, and that one was like, oh my god, wow, this is nuts. And other ones are kind of like, just alright. God. Creepshow 2, it's fun. It's fun. I didn't care for the last story. There's one that's really, really, really good. The downside is, if you know anything about Creepshow, is Creepshow had this awesome budget where they made it look like a comic book story, and they got all these famous actors and actresses and horror people. In Creepshow 2, they gave Tom Savini, again the real ones know, in a mask, and they say, yeah, we don't got the budget for that. We're going to try to make some decent stories. I feel bad for putting it back down here. Honestly, Creepshow 2 is king. We love it. We honor it, though. It's just going to go here because it's like, if you got time and you're looking for stuff and you haven't seen any of the VHSs or any of that stuff, or you have, go check it out. OPESkeeper says, you found it in a bargain bin and you don't hate yourself. So, yeah, that's it. Let's move on, shall we? Dead of Night, 1945. This is going to be our oldest movie on the list. It's in black and white. Again, gotta let you Zoomers know. We can't sit, not pay attention because it don't have color. And to be fair, I had a struggle to it too. This was interesting. There were so many, and I guess I'll even just say this, guys. This is all the movies I had time to watch. There is a disgusting amount of horror anthologies, in a good way. There was one, I think, recently, a Korean one from 2024. It's on Amazon. You guys really want to know, I'll put it in the description or something. But there's just a bunch. And a good chunk of these are British anthology. Tales from the Crypt, 1972. That's a British movie. I also think there was The House That Dripped Blood. You get a chance to watch that, unfortunately. I heard that one's actually fairly good. And Dead of Night, again, also another British film. It's about a architect, a man that goes out to the countryside for a job, meets a bunch of people in a living room, and has the premonition that he's dreamt all this before. And they each swap scary stories of weird paranormal stuff that ends up happening to them. But just from the date alone, the 1945 date, to watching this, to watching multiple horror movies, watching the tropes, to see them play out here at such a early age. I guess I can't say early age in cinema, because that's technically been 40, 50 years since, I think movies were going on since the late 19th century. I'm going to keep talking. It was great. There's a particular interesting final story. I'm always a sucker for puppets and dummies. Scared the crap out of me as a kid. R.I.P. Chucky. Hate that guy. Now I love him. He's one of my favorite slashers. But there's a great dummy story in here of the classic, are you the dummy? Am I the dummy? Am I going crazy? Great one to watch and check out. It was fun. This movie shares an ending with another movie on this list that I'm pretty sure you can put two and two together, but it was just interesting. It's fun to see, we're doing that at such a early age as 1945. It was fun. I would say again, you're in the mood for something classic, check it out. It's going to go right in the middle with Tales from the Darkside, because I feel like, again, they did such a great heavy hitter of you should check this out. I don't mean to demean or put Black Sabbath below. I personally thought, again, for the time of it doing it, and for just the style of the movie, I had a great time watching it. OPESkeeper says, get scary, turn off the lights, black it out. You know what it is. And that's the list, my scary, scary, scary children, of all the horror anthologies. And if I didn't make it clear, rewatching or watching all of these movies made me realize, again, just the beauty of anthologies, the beauties of scary stories, is that they don't have to be so complicated. Sometimes it can be as short a sentence of just like, I saw my wife again. Problem was that she's been dead for 20 years. Something like that. And then watching it play out. A lot of these had Goosebump vibes. I mean, again, you wouldn't have Goosebumps or scary stories to tell in the dark without these movies. And technically we wouldn't have any of these movies without the old horror comics. Again, also Tales from the Crypt. I'm butchering it because I could just do the research, but there's a long history as far as like old school horror comics of just like little bite-sized campfire stories that people consume, and they're entertaining. I mean, again, it's this love for scary stories that inspired Twilight Zone, that inspires like the Black Mirror, inspires all this stuff though, where it's like the horror of what is, what can be, of what we don't know. It's great. It's wonderful. So I really hope you enjoyed the list. It was really fun watching it. I just felt very compelled. I love Trick or Treat. I love Tales from the Hood. Creepshow's alright. But I want to watch other things, and I can only hope you watch one of these, two of these. You definitely watch Quiet In if you can handle 3 hours, just because it was just such a fun experience to dive through so many stories, see the similarities in some, and see the very, very difference in others, to just make this list for you. And that's our collection for tonight. Stories that remind us that fear isn't just found in monsters or ghosts, but in the little moments between the flicker of the light and the dark beyond it. Thanks for sitting by the fire with me. Until next time, keep your matches dry, your flashlight close, and your imagination wide open. I now officially declare this meeting of the Midnight Society over. Pleasant dreams, everyone.
Ordinary people, extraordinary stories. The show is now over. It's time to get yo. Ordinary people, extraordinary stories. Time for shut eye. Get your ass to the story. Ordinary people, extraordinary stories. Trishy went to bed, but Truggy's still flowing. Ordinary people, extraordinary stories. The lights are going off, this microphone I'm throwing, you know it.
Thanks everybody for listening to another episode of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please click the description below to look into our Patreon. I want to give a shout out to our exclusive patrons who've been donating to the channel. Again, I want to give a shout out to Courtney, Tamsin, and Richie. Without your help, we wouldn't be able to make these fine episodes, so thank you again. And for anyone else that's listening that believes they or they know somebody who has a very extraordinary story to tell, please feel free to email me at OPESpodcast@gmail.com. That's OPES, acronym for Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories, OPES, podcast, one word, @gmail.com. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and again, thanks for listening, guys. Take care.